I'm Eric. I helped found a company called Carpenters Code almost exactly 6 years ago in November of 2013. Next slide. So like the startup story goes, we began at my garage. There's a staff of people there. There's food, obviously. And then we worked and collaborated, presented to one another, challenged each other. And aligned with the startup story, we have a mascot, Pixel. However, the garage wasn't really full of warm computers since our servers are in the cloud. So we Bay Area folk determined it was too cold. We migrated over to the kitchen and dining table to be warmer, closer to the food. A year later, our product launch happened, November 2014. We started with the concept of prayer in our spiritual lives, and we looked at practices in the Christian tradition and extracted a general pattern. So next slide. This is a virtuous cycle of aligning with Jesus, experiencing the fruit of the Spirit, and focusing on God in the Word and prayer. This wasn't just something that Jesus commands us to do, but it's proper, good for us. Next slide. And it also so happens that at the same time we have this problem. It's a recent problem, increasingly taking hold in our modern technological society. Anxiety, depression, and lack of sleep. Next slide. Our response to this is an app that guides people using audio through biblically grounded meditation and prayer. Next slide. Every month, nearly 100 million minutes of meditation occur on multiple platforms, including the Abide app, YouTube, and reading plans on the Bible app. So Abide provides a wonderful audio experience for spiritual growth. And at the same time, many of these features we've developed needed us to think very unconventionally. Some were inspired by secular competitors, and some weren't. So let's take bedtime stories, for example. Have you ever met a pastor who recommended one of his sermons to help you fall asleep? Yet there are compelling biblical principles in seeking physical and spiritual rest, and using scriptures in all areas of our lives. So people are suffering insomnia caused by addictive behavior from a lot of the apps and games out there. How does the Word of God speak to that? So here are some testimonies. Abide has been very helpful to people in many ways. In this case, daily devotions. This user has said, it's caused me to become more intentional about taking time out of my day to meditate and pray. And next, sleep. And this user said, I used to take NyQuil sleeping pills to help me sleep, but with Abide, I've ditched the pills. I fall to sleep every time within 15 minutes. And anxiety. I'd like to highlight that this past summer I was dealing with the worst bit of anxiety that I've ever experienced. It was debilitating, and I was not able to go to work, etc. In the end, and it's completely changed my life. Next. So, motherhood. Your app has helped me in the hardest period of my life when I was at home after giving birth. And later it says, it was so hard to focus to pray on my own, so I appreciated so much the prayers and the meditations that helped me change my focus from my situation to God and be a better mother that day. And last, hurricanes. Hurricane Irma passed through Miami. And we had some scary moments. And later, this user said, I went to my Abide app during the storm, especially after those moments where we had to scramble to secure the areas where the water was coming in. It was very comforting to hear the fear, the peace, and protection meditations. So I was a little bit shocked as a technical person that this person had access to internet, because we needed that at the time to run the meditations. And so let's go back to the early days. Next slide. So our company right now is in the growth stage. We came through a time of product exploration, and we decided to pivot, and eventually found product market fit. And we survived during lean years, and finally started the growth phase about a year and a half ago. But this talk will feature more of the early days because many of you might be in your early days, or just starting, or thinking about starting, and I want to encourage you. Work with others. If you're going to create a faith-based business or run a business according to godly principles and practices, I recommend you work with others. Abide happened because we work with others. Many Christians with tech skills don't network, but we should. I've met people who have side projects on Bible study, memorization, music, etc. And as I learned more, I felt they needed to supplement their engineering skills with discernment, analysis about what to build. And they could have let people speak more into the projects to keep them going instead of having those projects languish on the side. Maybe these efforts were just hobbies, but if you have a hobby that you're feeling led to do more with, don't settle for less. Maybe they're technical and I don't want to be told to do, and don't want to be told to do things that are not aligned with, and I can identify that. Or maybe they just want to be their own boss, and honestly, that can be lonely. It's better to learn how to listen while protecting your boundaries than to ignore the help of others. It's better to learn how to listen. A large part of Abide's success is that I partnered with somebody smarter, more knowledgeable, and more experienced in the ways of business ministry and spiritual devotion. And likewise, my co-founder Neil partnered with me, someone with technical passion, a willingness to work, think critically, and debate with others, but with loyalty. There isn't one formula for finding people to work with. So before we started, Neil and I were just looking to connect with people, not build a team. We just knew we didn't have the talent, knowledge, and resources on our own. Neil's approach was to reach far and wide, getting world-class visionaries, leaders who flew in to speak, designers, engineers, ministers, supporters to come to his meetup in early 2013 at this hip co-working space in San Francisco. But my approach around the same time was to reach close and nearby, gathering folks at a Starbucks in Palo Alto. Yes, they were highly capable tech professionals and my friends. I sort of ran it like a church knitting group, or a kindergarten show and tell. So it was essentially the same thing, except without the keynote breakout sessions or the fancy pizza. Now, I'm not actually advocating to go splashy, or that small and ad hoc is less effective. It can be very effective, in fact. What resulted was a list of people interested in working on a prayer app. It turned out to be half from Neil's network and half from mine. And over time, through our volunteer meetings and the powerful attraction of food, some people became regular contributors, and our team was born. So Abide happened because we worked with others. After the meetup, it was evident to me that prayer was the obvious area to look at. I didn't want to do a prayer app. I felt strongly it would be too hard to do on my own. I was not a subject matter expert, nor did I have strong opinions about prayer or meditation. Somehow, though, I knew I would need to have a team of people to succeed if I focused on prayer. So silently, I preferred to develop some kind of Bible app or something I could create without help from others. I saw an email from Neil to the list of folks from the meetup asking about next steps. I felt like such a pessimist, but I was afraid no one would respond to him and he would give up. So, wanting to encourage him, I whipped up a quick Android app that I organized in prayer requests and sent it to the email list. It's what you call a straw man. It was too simple to be useful, but I hoped someone would try it and say, I could do better than this, and then take over and help Neil. But it turned out there were actually a bunch of people who were interested in helping, and I not only outed myself as to this group, but I lost my excuse of not having a team. So in retrospect, of course, working on prayer and meditation was the right path. And again, abide happened because we worked with others. And I didn't come up with this name, but working with and listening to others led us to it. And it was about spring 2013. And through Neil's meetup, a volunteer team eventually started to meet every week in the South Bay. One of the people was Brian's son, a marketer who felt compelled to give a name to this prayer app. At a volunteer work meeting in the living room in San Jose, he started coming up with his list of names from the Bible, from the internet, from Christian culture. He ran surveys with email lists and did analysis on a variety of words. And in the meanwhile, the engineers in the other room were actually trying to get work done. Defining what they're trying to build, just build. So did we even need a name? We didn't have an app. But before any useful code was written, Abide was selected. It was a logical choice for marketing and business best practices. The name didn't have very much prior meaning, so that just gave us more freedom to use it. It was also distinct and short. Brian's a passionate person, but to me, the naming process didn't feel particularly spiritual. It turns out that that's not the end of the story. Months later, Neil shows up to one of our volunteer work nights in my garage, and from his laptop came a slightly shaky voice. Neil said it was a prophecy recorded over the phone by a man, Ron Berthoff. And he claimed Ron didn't know anything about him other than he worked at Google at the time. So, I don't have a charismatic background, but I kept my mind open. Then Ron declared he would read from John 15. Apparently it was from the ESV, because it almost seemed like every other word was abide. Abide in me and I in you. Whoever abides in me and I in him. If you abide in me and my word abides in you, and abide in my love. At some point he stopped reading the passage and said the word. It just intensely came to him, he said, repeating, abide, abide, abide. And that was really weird. Was Neil deceiving me, or was Neil being deceived? I can tell you for sure that it was neither. The recording described other small details about the team product, and just over the following few days, I just really felt chills about it. I thought, be serious about this. God could be really doing something here, something big. Do I want to join? Am I ready? The Holy Spirit can work through people to speak into our lives. These people might be gifted with prophetic words or gifted with professional skills. You know, having reading from the NIV, Remain could be the name of the leading app for Christian meditation. In our first year, Neil took responsibility for fundraising, and by fall of 2014, there was a fundraising opportunity at a spacious home in Atherton. Being an engineer my whole career thus far, I was never part of these kind of discussions, but I thought, how about I tag along and provide tech support? And I was a bit excited by the idea, so even before Neil asked me, I just left the blazer in my car just in case some kind of suit jacket was required for this event. He was glad to have me come along, although it's possible he actually needed me to give him a ride. I chatted up one of the younger attendees, who turned out to be an entrepreneur and an angel investor himself. I showed about how I helped to create this new Christian audio app and about my background. He in turn shared about his goals. He wanted to accomplish a few more things before focusing more on giving to God and serving others through some sort of ministry. And I got the sense that perhaps a couple others here had the same mindset. And I'm not here to say that this is a wrong approach, and actually, but I am here to say that I learned that it was wrong for me. I'm sensitive to the frailties of life. I had been through a period of depression a few years before life that was just absolutely debilitating. My window of opportunity of impact in this life is limited compared to what I think most others are. Talking to people who are in different positions than I was taught me that, and I hope that you can learn some of these things yourself. So here are some fears that I had with being on the team. I would fear that sometimes people leave. I was afraid of what someone leaving will do to the team. Especially in the Bay Area, how quickly people change jobs. And I was afraid of recruiting, interviewing, hiring people. I mean, what if a better opportunity comes along and they leave? I was afraid of personal rejection. And also afraid of how it would discourage other people on the team. I wasn't actually afraid of pivoting the company, but when we lost one of our team members because of it, it made me change my mind. Pivoting was the right thing to do, but the loss of that great contributor meant it didn't really feel like it was. And the opposite can also be stressful. What if people should but don't leave? Nearly every person who's worked on Abide has a heart for God and appreciates the fellowship of our team. But some lacked abilities that our team really needed, and there really wasn't a role for them to do their best work. I spent a considerable amount of time helping onboard and explain things to some of our volunteers. I had this over-optimistic self. I can transform people. I can give them database access and help them automate tests and enable them to work on our tools. And some are able, but unable to, or unwilling to adapt. Some people are quite gifted, but just really didn't really seek to allow other people to enter into their lives. So some found us to be, as well, a fun group of people to hang out with, and they just weren't focusing on a mission, excellence, and working for the Lord. And then there's the feeling of being passed up, people who never joined. Some didn't join because the sacrifice is hard, Bay Area salaries or make the opportunity cost heavy. Some didn't join because we're a company and not a traditional ministry. Some didn't join because other exciting opportunities came along. So, next slide. My first day working full-time on Abide was Friday, December 20th, 2013. So who recognizes this place? Okay, not many. Okay. This is Red Rock Coffee in downtown Mountain View. I had no office space, no desk space, and no boss. In just a few months, Neil would leave Google, and we'd be working together in an office with desks. That came from a previous startup. But one of our co-founders didn't join us, which was not according to plan. I was concerned we were missing a key strength right out of the gate. How do you build a great product without a product manager? But God knows what is best. Abide would survive if he desired it. And I can't say for sure, but maybe it was not meant to be. Could we afford his salary during our lean years? Would we have pivoted when we need to, or learned as much as we have since then? Probably not, but Neil and I are so much better at running this company now than when we started, and a lot of it came from the things that we learned the hard way. So it seemed to me God knew what we needed. Next slide. So this is our team in our San Mateo office. We had a few different offices over the years, and we're right by the Caltrain station. And I just wanted to just show you that this is just our full-time team. We actually have 25 to 30 other people working in content media all over the country, so in support roles, admin roles. And so we've really quite grown a lot more than this image shows, but there's just too many advantages to not work with people, and I just wanted to share that. So I want to leave with a few challenges. One is to fight your personal biases from your own filtering of the world by your idiosyncrasies, pride, or even lack of creativity. Seek objective feedback about your assumptions, understanding of problems and solutions. The more reliable your facts, the better the chance you have at decision making. And observe signals. Seeing supportive people join you, stand aside, or even convince you to quit is a signal of their strength of their feedback to you. And finally, embrace accountability. Decision making is hard without accountability. We know that Proverbs 27 says, iron sharpens iron. So work with others to keep advancing or know when to quit. As followers of Christ, there will be many who have different perspectives or opinions than you, but contrary to difference, get to know them. Learn from them. Be open to change. I was not clear on whether Abide should be, for instance, for-profit or non-profit venture. I wasn't clear that an audio experience would be popular or that a communications tool is really what was needed, even though that's what all the pastors said they wanted. I listened thoughtfully to people who had different experiences to come to conclusions. And then I used judgment and discernment from what I knew in Scripture and how God convicts me through prayer. And even now, on occasion, I'll reflect on whether I should change my position on things. So if you have ideas and are seeking out other people, I just highly recommend working with others. There are many people sitting beside you this morning who can be a great resource to you, and to whom you can be a great resource to. And you can also come by and talk to the Abide team. We love to exchange ideas, provide feedback, connect you even with other people that you should talk to. And we're hiring. Right now, Abide's looking for a product manager and a senior back-end engineer. And we're also looking for people to help with digital marketing and media who have that background. And I just, again, recommend talk with people, learn from them, and work with others. Just want to have a short thanks. Thanks to CEA for the opportunity to have me here, and Menlo Church for supporting our startup in various ways. The original Abide launch photo that was taken at the Menlo Cafe back in November 2014, 5 years ago. And a few Menlo folks have volunteered on Abide in the early days, so we're really, really grateful for that. And also special thanks to Bridgeway Church in Palo Alto, my home church. There's a biblical culture of fellowship and faithfulness there, and producing disciples that value persistence, teamwork, and selflessness. And a significant number of contributions to Abide have come from Bridgeway members with the spirit of missional fellowship. I want to give thanks to my parents who supported Abide. They cooked meals for us during the volunteer nights, rewired and retrofitted my garage for collaboration and tech work. And I want to give thanks to my wife Amanda for supporting me wholeheartedly, even though Abide represents mostly heavenly reward. Some of our earthly reward for us is just left on the table. And I made peace with that when I was single, but when we got married, she embraced it too. I really appreciate that. And lastly, or not lastly, thanks to my co-founder Neil for his trust, support, and the grace he's given me. He's been really patient. And I want to thank all of those here who just came because I invited them. I'm really blessed to have all you guys. And most importantly, I want to thank God for just an amazing place that the Abide team is at right now, all the successes and the learning opportunities that we've had, the meaningful work that He's blessed us with, and the fruit of the ministry. We've actually seen lives helped and changed, and it's just this heavenly treasure again. So thank you.